Good morning. Welcome to the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry offices. Our program will begin shortly.
Good morning. I'm Joel Frank, and I'm the chairman and managing partner of McErlane, a full-service regional law firm. On behalf of the firm, it's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning and kick off this year's State of the County. Our firm has always been significantly involved with the Chamber, as well as the Chester County community at large. We've been fortunate enough to grow over the last couple of years so that we're now 43 attorneys, and while headquartered in Westchester, we also have offices now in Philadelphia as well as Newtown Square. Over the years, I've found the State of the County to be one of the more interesting and intriguing chamber events. I expect this one to be no different, especially in light of the year we've experienced and are continuing to experience. I'd like to thank Commissioners Moskowitz, Maxwell, and Kichline for their efforts and leadership, as well as making themselves available this morning to share their perspective and answer questions we may have. I'd like to offer our congratulations to Mark Miller, this year's well-deserving recipient of the Larry Bowling Award. Thank you, Guy and the Chamber, for the opportunity to participate in this morning's event. I'd like to now hand the program over to Tom Chiamento, the Chamber Chair. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Tom Chiamento, Vice President for Pennsylvania American Water Company. I'm also honored to serve as Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry. So on behalf of Pennsylvania American Water Company and the Chamber Board of Directors, I'd like to welcome you to this morning's program. For nearly 3 decades, the Chamber of Commerce has been a vocal champion for free enterprise and business growth in this county. However, as our nation faces one of the most difficult public health and economic challenges in its history, our organization continues to be the leading voice for our county's workforce and for the employers they depend on for their paychecks and their livelihoods. So on behalf of the Board of Directors, I hope you find this morning's conversation with the Chester County Commissioners informative, but also reassuring. I expect what you will learn today is that we have 3 very dedicated public servants that are committed to helping our county, its citizens, and our economy through this crisis. Now I'd like to turn the podium over to Mike Reese from Fulton Bank, this year's sponsor of the Larry Bowling Award. Mike?
Thanks, Tom, and good morning. First, on behalf of Fulton Bank, we have valued our long-standing relationship with the Chamber, and I'd like to start by expressing our appreciation for the tireless effort of all the Chamber staff, all of our board members, our committee members, and all of our supporters and sponsors as they continue to help support and guide our business community here in Chester County. As a community-focused bank, we fully understand that it takes all of us working together to ensure economic vibrancy, and that has never been more true than in 2020. Fulton Bank is also very proud to sponsor our event this morning, and we want to extend our thanks and appreciation to our county commissioners, all of our local government leaders, and their staff and employees for all of their efforts in helping us navigate through these incredibly challenging and, quite frankly, unprecedented times. So now on to the award. It is my pleasure to introduce the Honorary Earl Baker. Earl has served as state senator, county commissioner, and township supervisor during his over 3 decades spent in public service. Earl has been active with the Chester County Chamber since its inception and still serves as a member of our Government Affairs Committee. In 2018, Earl received our first Lifetime Achievement Award. Earl continues to chair the Larry Bowling Award Committee to ensure that each year our chamber honors those local government officials and public servants who work behind the scenes to make a difference through their hard work, their dedication, and their innovation. So at this time, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Earl Baker.
Before I begin my presentation of the J. Larry Bowling Award, I'd like to thank the other members of the committee that have been friends of Larry Bowling when he was alive and we worked with him, and still now we give admiration to Larry through our service on the committee. And they are myself as chairman, Jim McErlane, Kathy Pierce, Gary Brown, and Steve Ross, who also was the first recipient of the Bowling Award. This is the 25th presentation of the J. Larry Bowling Excellence in Local Government Award. We give this award to a person who is like Larry Bowling, who may be less visible to the public, but who behind the scenes is making government work efficiently and economically. Guy, thank you very much for the Chamber's support for the Bowling Award. And for those of you who visit the Chamber, there is a J. Larry Bowling conference room. And that is often the place where Guy has smaller meetings. And there's another conference room in the Chamber as well that is connected to Larry. And that is when I was a commissioner with Bob Thompson, Bob has a conference room named for him at the Chamber also. So it sort of ties together. The Director of Public Works is not always somebody that people know. They might know the supervisors, but they're not likely to know who the Director of Public Works is. And so our awardee today, Mark Miller, is someone we want to give prominence to and to call attention to the great job that he has done over the years. He was originally hired in 1981. In 1988, he became the Director of Public Works. And I'm just going to mention three things that gives you an example of the special quality of leadership that he has provided. The first is the old Gennardi building, which has become a functional township facility because of his vision. The second is the bridge over the Chester Creek, where after elaborate repairs, when the stonework was put back, nobody could even tell that there had been all the extensive repairs to make that a safe bridge. Also, he worked out an innovative arrangement with the Goshen Fire Company, where the workers at the township would also be volunteer firemen. So that's the kind of thinking that often leads to accomplishments that are not recognized without leadership. And finally, on a personal level, I want to mention that in the community, Mark has also been very active. He's an active member of the West Whiteland Fire Company. But of interest to me is the fact that his father, Al Miller, with whom I worked when I was active at the county level, was the fire chief. And interestingly enough, Mark's two sons are now respectively the chief and deputy chief of the West Whiteland Fire Company. And I'm happy to say that their names are Kevin and Steve. And so they show that on a family basis, that there is commitment not only professionally, but to the community. So Mark Miller, it gives me great pleasure to present you with the 2020 J. Larry Bowling Excellence in Government Award.
Thank you, Earl. Thank you very much. This is greatly appreciated. I'd also like to thank the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry for recognizing me for this award. I know Larry Bowling did a lot for the community over the years, and like I said, this is greatly appreciated. I'd also like to thank the East Goshen Board of Supervisors, past and present, for allowing me to do what I do. And I'd also like to thank Rick Smith, Township Manager, for being a mentor and being a great friend for the last 40 years. And in closing, I'd like to thank my wife Dorothy and my sons Kevin and Stephen for understanding the missed holidays, the birthdays, the vacations. I greatly appreciate the award. And again, I love working for the residents of East Goshen Township, and I plan on being here for many more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl, for your leadership and your remarks. And thank you and congratulations to Mark Miller. We're fortunate, the Chamber here, to be in East Goshen Township, and we have a wonderful relationship and get to see firsthand the great work done in this township and in this community. Today's event, like many of our Chamber events, would not be possible without the support of our board and our sponsors. Our board and sponsors support our efforts to make sure that we meet our mission. And our mission is threefold: to make sure that we bring together business and civic leaders to develop relationships, to make sure that we share best practices, leading information, technology, services, to help our members grow professionally and to help their businesses succeed, to make sure that this is a community where businesses want to open, and once open, where they can grow and thrive. And third, our Chamber came about to make sure that we could be advocates, to fight for public policy ideas, programs, and people to help our economy grow, not only in our community, but in our state and the nation. And to make sure that we were hearing the sounds and the voices and concerns of our members and bringing them together with public officials, so that public officials could share their insights and expertise, and at the same time, our members could share their insights and expertise. Today's State of the County event is part of that long, ongoing tradition. It's especially important to do that in times like these, where so many are pulling us apart. We're amongst the noise and partisanship and fighting. We need to find ways to come together to talk about those things that bring us together, to find common goals and common projects to make sure that our region grows and that no one is left behind. These times during COVID are especially challenging. We need to make sure that Chester County is a wonderful place to live and grow and raise a family, and at the same time, make sure that our economy is moving ahead. We know these are challenging times for our businesses, and we know they're challenging times for our elected officials. And while much of the attention has been in the fighting and the give and take in Washington and Harrisburg, our Chamber has been actively working with our county commissioners to make sure the concerns and needs and safety of our citizens here in our county were met. And from the very beginning with COVID, we worked with our county commissioners to make sure that there were enough safety materials, as well as the programs were available to help our businesses stay open, and when they couldn't open, to try and offer support for the workers and the employees and the customers. The partnership and the relationship we've had with the commissioners has been important during this time, and it will be important in the days, weeks, and months ahead as we work to reopen and regrow our economy. As I said, our program today would not be possible without the support of our board and sponsors. I want to especially thank those who made today possible. You've heard some of them already. We want to thank those presenting sponsors from McErlane, Fulton Bank, and Aqua. And we have many other sponsors whose contributions make not only today's event possible, but make our many ongoing activities as well. We're now going to watch and see our digital program, which will show you the sponsors who've made today's event possible, who've supported the work to make sure that we could have a great discussion with our county commissioners. And now I ask you to join me in watching our digital program. I want to thank all those sponsors who contributed their dollars to make our chamber mission possible. And I especially want to thank Riley Riper, Holland and Colagreco. Riley Riper is the sponsor responsible for presenting our digital program. More importantly, Riley Riper has been a supporter of the chamber, active in our chamber, and helping many of our members do the business they need to do. So I want to especially thank them for their support in making our program possible. As we get ready to begin our discussion, I'm going to be turning the floor over to Mike Feely of Aqua. Aqua has been a supporter of this chamber from its inception, and Mike Feely has been an active member of our board and executive board for quite some time. There's literally been no major initiative that's taken place that Mike hasn't been a part of. It's so fitting that he's with us today as Aqua leads us in presenting this discussion today with the state of the county. And so I'm going to turn the floor over now to Mike Feely from Aqua, who's going to introduce and get our program started. Thank you to Mike and thank you to Aqua. Mike, the floor is yours.
Good morning. My name is Mike Feely and I'm Vice President of Distribution here at Aqua, Pennsylvania. Aqua is a proud member of the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry, and we're pleased to be a sponsor of this event. Aqua, Pennsylvania serves a 244 square mile area in Chester County, serving a total of 250,000 people. At Aqua, we take seriously our mission of protecting and providing Earth's most essential resource. Throughout Chester County, we contribute and collaborate on a variety of environmental initiatives that include preserving and protecting sensitive lands, reforesting critical areas, and stewarding natural habitats. These activities go hand in hand with protecting our water supplies. For more than a decade, Aqua Pennsylvania has been a part of the Schuylkill Action Network, a collaboration of more than 150 partner organizations working to implement clean water projects and promote stewardship in the 2,000 square mile Schuylkill River watershed. Each year, Aqua Pennsylvania and its partners work to improve agricultural lands, install stormwater best management practices, preserve priority lands, host stream cleanups, and educate citizens on how they can reduce their impact. We have also partnered with the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, and local conservation districts in our watershed, including a restoration grant program called Tree Vitalized Watersheds. Aqua has allocated more than $1.5 million in this initiative, which seeks to reforest stream corridors and other areas in which trees will help improve water quality. We are also actively engaged in the use of alternative energy that serves our operations, including solar farms, wind farms, and natural gas. Aqua Pennsylvania owns and operates a solar field covering more than 8 acres at our Ingram's Mill Treatment Plant located in East Bradford Township. The 1 megawatt facility began operation in early 2010. In 2019, along with our Pickering solar field, the fields generated nearly 3.3 million kilowatt hours of renewable energy, which is enough energy to power 300 homes a year. This is just some of the environmental work we are part of in Chester County, and we look forward to continuing to work with community officials to protect our limited natural resources. I'd like to thank you for allowing me time to share some of the great things we are doing here at Aqua, and I'd now like to introduce our moderator, former Lieutenant Governor Jim Cawley. Prior to serving as Lieutenant Governor, Jim served as a Bucks County Commissioner. So now I will turn it over to him. Governor, you're up.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this discussion about the state of the county in Chester County. We are very pleased and honored this morning to be joined by the 3 county commissioners, Marian Moskowitz, Josh Maxwell, and Michelle Kichline. I can tell you, as somebody who once sat in their chair, we are very fortunate to have them join us this morning, for them to find time in their busy schedule. And I can also tell you how I'm sure they would agree that events like this are very important to them as they continue to do their good work in serving the people of Chester County. Before we begin our discussion, we are very fortunate to have the opportunity to see a video that has been prepared by the commissioners and Chester County. And at this point, I think it would be appropriate to say, let's roll the video.
As one of your 3 Chester County Commissioners, I have the pleasure of setting the scene for our annual State of the County address. This is a chance to review, reflect, and report on the programs and services that our county government provides and how they impact and influence our many communities. This year, things certainly have been different. Chester County began the year with a new 3-member Board of Commissioners. We had plans for a transition that would review our government priorities and practices and establish our focus for the future. I had just barely worked out where to hang my coat. We toured the public safety training campus, attended the Pennsylvania Farm Show, and helped cut the ribbon on the new Exton train station. And all the while, the Chester County Health Department was mobilizing for action, preparing for a pandemic. So while I can say that COVID-19 was not in our plan, I can confirm that Chester County was prepared. Long before the coronavirus came to our region, staff in our health department began their planning, their preparation, and their communication. Briefings were held with long-term care facilities, our hospitals and first responders, schools and universities, the chambers of commerce, our businesses, nonprofits, and faith-based organizations, and our own Chester County departments and courts. Then, on March 12th, we announced our decision to enact Chester County government's Continuity of Operations Plan and shut down all non-essential services to help control the spread of COVID-19. We were the first in the region to announce this, to anticipate the need to take drastic action, and to lead by example. For just 2 weeks to begin with, or so we thought, we set up our Health Operations Center, supported by our Emergency Operations Center, and began sourcing what eventually amounted to 3 million articles of personal protection equipment. Chesco.org/coronavirus quickly became the go-to webpage for up-to-the-minute information and guidance on COVID-19. And the early weeks and months of this pandemic were packed with briefings and telephone town halls. With support from all Chester County chambers, the Economic Development Council, Chester County's township and borough officials, we reached thousands of small business owners and nonprofits, helping them to navigate their way through PPP loan applications and other federal and state grants. And through our Human Services Task Force, we identified gaps in food, housing, and human service needs, and worked with partners to meet those needs. We applied for and received $92 million in CARES funding, which has proved crucial in strategic funding for businesses, nonprofits, schools, childcare, and rental assistance. Chester County's business community has always benefited from thriving schools, vibrant urban centers, preserved green spaces, a solid structure for social services, and a focus on physical, emotional, and economic health. This pandemic has further reinforced how connected, how mutually reliant all of our Chester County communities are, and it shows that the state of Chester County is strong.
Unprecedented. Often this word has become overused, but it remains the most relevant word to describe the past 9 months. Vigilant. Another word used to describe our need to adhere to the guidance of wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart, and washing our hands regularly. You're on mute. That certainly has been the quote of the year. But moving from words to actions, let me share some of the key initiatives that Chester County enacted this year to support everyone greatly impacted by COVID-19. Back in March, as positive cases started to appear, it became clear that Chester County had a distinct advantage when it came to infectious disease management. We have a wonderful, dedicated health department. Chester County is one of the few counties in Pennsylvania that has its own health department. And in times like COVID, this has been invaluable. because local knowledge and expertise means more accurate and timely investigations, contact tracing, guidance, and support. Our friends and neighbors in Delaware County recognized this and reached out to us to ask if Chester County could stretch to supporting their residents, hospitals, and long-term care homes. It was the right thing to do, and we were able to do it. Marian already mentioned our many telephone town halls and actions to support all businesses that have received a direct hit from COVID. Those actions helped to address immediate concerns, but we knew that a more detailed strategy was needed to get our business community through this pandemic. So we quickly established the COVID-19 Business Task Force. In the short term, this led to Restore Chester County, the online resource providing guidance to businesses and residents on how to safely interact with COVID-19, how to reopen and stay open. Along the way, we visited our restaurants to give them support. We helped to bottle 125 gallons of hand sanitizer, and we ran an election successfully during a pandemic. Then we got purposeful with our CARES funding. $5 million in grants through our Main Street Preservation Grant Program helped nearly 250 small businesses receive grants of up to $25,000. $3.5 million was earmarked for Chester County nonprofits. $15 million in child care grants that so far have helped nearly 1,200 children in 140 child care centers. Funding that is meeting the pandemic-related education needs of 71,000 public school children across Chester County, and $2.5 million that has gone to our first responder organizations. Funding in all of these areas not only directly benefits our Chester County communities, but the ripple effects will help bolster our economic strength as we continue to make our way through this pandemic. We do look forward to a time when we have the vaccine available for everyone, and we are already planning the process of how to vaccinate everyone quickly. Should it be needed, we even have an ultra-low freezer to store the vaccine, thanks to a generous and timely donation by our friends at Longwood Gardens. When we pledged to prioritize the health and safety of every Chester County citizen back in January, we never pictured what that would really mean. These past 9 months have been tough, but it showed us that the state of Chester County is strong.
During the early months of COVID-19, Chester County saw a 70% increase in households being served by food banks. Our Decade to Doorways homeless prevention program transitioned residents in shelters to area hotels. We worked with landlords and provided CARES funding to help with rent costs. And we provided essential services for job seekers and employers, first virtually, then later moving to in-person. One other major increase in county services that we saw from the start of this pandemic was the use of our beautiful Chester County parks and trails. The true value of these preserved open spaces certainly was realized by thousands of our residents over the past 9 months. Of course, the business of Chester County government didn't come to a complete halt when COVID-19 arrived. And in many ways, it became more intense, especially in departments that come under our Human Service umbrella and our Department of Community Development. We are very proud of the way that county staff stepped up during this pandemic, those who were considered essential, as well as those who continued providing services from home. And our Computer Information Services staff went into overdrive to make all of this happen. Now, alongside the management of this pandemic, Chester County is starting to move forward in earnest with its programs and services. Our Census Complete Count Committee promoted the importance of this year's census, and Chester County recorded one of the highest participation rates in the Commonwealth. We continue to implement the plans that meet our 6 goals of Landscapes 3. with activities like the Urban Centers Forum and important trail expansion plans. We committed $5.7 million to affordable housing projects across Chester County. And we have awarded more than $2.3 million in community revitalization grants that go to our urban centers. This includes $500,000 towards construction of the parking garage in Coatesville, which will serve regional rail riders for Amtrak and SEPTA users. And before you ask, SEPTA service is on schedule to return to Coatesville by 2022. Amid all of this, we continue with COVID testing, with case investigations, with following data trends, and with discussions on strategic mitigation plans to help us slow COVID-19 down. Our business task force is finalizing its short-term targeted stabilization of 21 industry sectors, with plans to move to phase 2 soon, focusing on broader, long-term recovery. Our strength in planning gives us a great advantage in moving forward economically. And the stepped approach we have taken to help businesses first steady the course, then move forward and grow, will help us to reshape our robust economy in a post-COVID-19 world. Our continual challenge, one that we face every day, is how to balance our public health needs with our economic and emotional needs. We know that our businesses, our restaurants, our schools, and our hospitals and long-term care facilities are in a better position now to control this virus, even with our numbers once again increasing. So it comes down to personal responsibility, which brings me to my final thought. Simple ask, wear a mask. This is the tagline to our friendly but firm public health campaign. Marian, Josh, and I ask you all to join us in this campaign by donning your own masks and sharing the simple message on social media. If you haven't gotten the message by now, despite the presence of a pandemic, the state of the county, whichever way you choose to measure it, is strong. Thank you for working with us to make it so.
Thank you, Commissioners, for that very insightful video. I hope you all found it as informative as I did. We're now going to move to our discussion. The questions that I'm going to ask today came from members of the Chamber, members of the Chamber's Executive Committee, and members of the Chamber's Government Action Committee. If you, the viewers, have questions for the Commissioners, they have graciously agreed to answer those questions after this program has concluded. You can simply drop your questions into the chat function, and we will make sure that we get them to the Commissioners, and they, in turn, will get you a timely response. So with that, let's start the discussion. Hardly a surprise, Commissioners, but the first question is about COVID. And it is specifically what are some of the current data points that are facing Chester County, that being the unemployment rate, illness, et cetera, and what has been the biggest impacts on Chester County due to the COVID pandemic. We'll turn first to Marian Moskowitz.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Today, our economy is improving in Chester County. We were at an unemployment high of 12% in April. And as of the end of October, we are now down to 4.8%. As compared to last year, at the same time, we were at 3.8%. So we showed great resilience through the summer to get our economy back on track, and I think we're heading in the right direction. It is tough, though, because this COVID has impacted so many different businesses and individuals. And each industry has been impacted so differently. It's very hard to It's not a one-size-fits-all when you're talking about how you can help them. So we've had efforts working with the Workforce Development Board, PA Career Links of Chester County, the United Way of Financial Stability Center, and they've all offered services for employees like job services and training and job fairs, everything that they could do to get people back to work. We've also had our Main Street Preservation Grant Program where we gave a $5 million grant to small businesses, and we ended up helping about 250 small businesses, which was really terrific. The partnerships that we've created during this process have been so helpful and have allowed us to really become strong and powerful as a county. And those partnerships were with the Economic Development Council, the United Way Financial Stability Center, the Workforce Development Board, our Chambers of Commerce, and our township, municipal, our boroughs, and city officials. All of those together have helped to get Chester County back to where it is now. And regarding COVID, yesterday we reported 153 new cases. It is high for us. The cases are increasing. We have a total now of 12,263 positive cases. We had one new death yesterday, and we have a total of 400 deaths. Our positivity rate yesterday was 8.3%, and that fluctuates back and forth. So that kind of gives you a rough idea of what's happening on the economy.
Thank you, Marian. Josh Maxwell.
Sure, I'll appreciate that. I'd like to talk a little about the physical impact and maybe add, I guess, additional data points to our numbers. Chester County was prepared for and has been training for a public health crisis. Our preparedness truly helped us tackle COVID in our region. We were able to set up an emergency operations center in a matter of hours, or a health operations center in a matter of hours at the Government Services Center in Westchester. And we started spearheading communication directly with the long-term care facilities, our schools, our businesses, making sure that everyone knew exactly what to expect regarding a global health pandemic and how in Chester County we can work together to overcome these challenges. Marian mentioned the positive cases as of today. We're seeing a positivity rate that's lower than our neighboring counties, and we attribute that to a lot of people in Chester County following the rules, doing what they're supposed to do, wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart. We feel that we are better informed now. Our long-term care homes, our hospitals, our businesses, and our schools know what to do and how to control the spread of the pandemic. We speak weekly with Penn Medicine, the folks at CHOP Policy Lab, about where we are in terms of this surge. We expect about another month of these high numbers at least, so we're encouraging everyone to continue to follow these rules. Currently, we are preparing for the administration of a vaccine, and we'll be ready when that vaccine is ready to get it to as many folks as we can throughout Chester County.
Thank you, Josh. Michelle Kichline.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Chamber Board for having us here. I want to talk a little bit today about the individual impact that COVID's had on so many folks in our community. First, I'd like to note with my colleagues that this is their first year and they've stepped up to the plate. This has been an unusual year to be a county commissioner. It's certainly not like what we're used to. But we've adapted, we've grown, and we often hear from our from the grassroots, from all of you folks and our citizens about what they're going through. Our health department has focused on the physical implications of COVID, and until we get this virus under control, that will be their priority and will remain the priority of the county. But the economic and personal impact on our mental and emotional well-being becomes greater the longer this pandemic stays with us. Collaborative work among our county departments has addressed and continues to address the impacts on all of us individually. Our Human Services Task Force, which consists of the Department of Human Services and Community Development, plus staff from the Health Department and Emergency Services, has established ways to identify gaps in food, housing, and human service needs. Help for our elderly, those suffering from addiction, mental health issues, and vulnerable children. We have used our CARES funding to help the citizens individually, as well as collectively. That money has gone to nonprofit funding, school funding, and child care funding. We really anticipate in the next few months, it's going to be a challenge. As my colleague said, we anticipate, especially the next month, the numbers continuing to go up. And as the days get colder and darker, we want you to know that we're here for you. We will continue to find ways to reach out to our vulnerable and stand with you and give you the support that you need.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to build off something that Michelle just said, in which she said the people of Chester County need to know that the county is there for them. Specifically, and the question for all three of you is, what resources does the county offer to help during and getting through the effects of COVID? And if you could break down your thoughts along the lines of assistance for businesses, assistance for nonprofits, and assistance for individuals. And we'll start with Marian.
Thank you. So we've done a number of things, a wide variety of things, some of which Michelle did mention. We care about not only the physical health of the county, but the mental health, the business community, all of those things that we're trying to make sure that we're constantly helping them to get through this process. So we've done a couple things from the business perspective. As I mentioned earlier, we put $5 million into the Main Street Preservation Grant Fund. Stay tuned, we may have some additional round of grants in the near future. We set up a COVID-19 business task force, Restore Chester County, which is incredible because it offers businesses and individuals toolkits for 21 business sectors about how they can open safely when they had closed for a while, but how they can continue to operate safely, how they can deal with patrons that come in that may not necessarily want to adhere to the rules, how they can protect their businesses from insurance liability, etc. It's a great source of information. We've also put on many webinars on there for businesses and individuals, things like liability insurance and how you deal with wages and how you apply for the PPP funds and other grants that are available to you. Again, we've worked with all of our great partners, the chambers, the Visitors Bureau, across the county, as well as our 21 sector industries. Michelle is going to talk a little bit more about the future of Restore Chester County, but we have put together a lot of items on that website. I encourage you to look at it, restorechestercounty.org. It's very, very helpful. And lastly, we have also had grants for rental assistance, nonprofits, as well as grants to public schools and our daycare facilities.
Josh, same question.
Yeah, sure. I was going to add a couple points here about Restore Chester County. I'll skip over those for now. Marian covered the webinars. Just want to say thank you to the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry and all the Chester County Chambers of Commerce for pulling together. If there was a time for the private sector, the government sector to work together collaboratively, this would be it. And I'm very proud that the Chester County community came together to tackle these challenges so the county could be in constant communication with the business sectors or nonprofit sectors in order to get these resources into people's hands as quickly as possible. Pennsylvania Career Link and United Way Financial Stability Center, which is located in Exton but does a lot of remote support, is a great place for individuals seeking employment. Is unique in we are unique in Chester County in bringing these two things together, and it's been valuable throughout the pandemic. We've utilized some of our CARES money, $3.5 million, to support Chester County organizations, nonprofits, continue to make their important contributions and investments into our communities. And I'm proud of all these efforts, and especially our collaborative working relationship between our business sector and our government sector.
Josh, thank you. Michelle?
Sure. I just want to elaborate a little bit on some of the points I raised earlier about where our CARES funding has gone to. I had mentioned that we have spent some of that money on public school funding. We sent $10 million in support for additional costs and services needed by the public schools. And those are addressing their needs that arose because of COVID. And we, as a board, feel it's very important that our children continue to receive education, and we hope that that funding will enable the schools to, work safely and collaboratively to provide appropriate education for the children. Also, childcare funding. Unfortunately, many of the people that have been most affected by COVID are folks that have relied on childcare and schools while they go out to work. It's a great thing as a woman to see that most of our workforce are females, but we've also found that statistically females economically have been the most impacted by this disease. And that's why we sent $10 million in subsidies for family needing to cover unplanned childcare costs, $5 million for childcare providers to ensure that the facilities are safe and able to accommodate potential increases in family needs for childcare. And finally, I just want to touch on, I know it was in the video, our Simple Ask Wear a Mask campaign. This is reaching out to everybody, to businesses, to nonprofits, and individuals. And it's not just a health mandate. It is something that is enabling our businesses to stay open. One of the things that, as a lifelong resident of Chester County, one of the things that I'm most proud of is our small businesses. And if you wear a mask, you socially distance, and you wash your hands, those tools will help those businesses survive and eventually thrive. So wear your mask. It's the holiday season. If you're going to shop, do it locally. A lot of them do curbside pickup. You don't have to just go on Amazon. Go to your local businesses, wear a mask, keep them open.
Thanks, Michelle. We're now going to ask individual questions of each one of the commissioners so that they can delve into even greater depth on their plans for Chester County. And first question, Marian, goes to you. And the great philosopher John Lennon always used to say that life is what happens while you're busy making other plans.
That's right.
And I'm sure that your plans for 2020, just like everyone else's, were interrupted this year. So the question is, what was the first or the main issue that you wanted to address this year of 2020 that you simply weren't able to get to because of the conditions of the pandemic?
So one of the things actually that we all three wanted to do, was very important to me, is to put a transition team in place as two new commissioners coming on board. It was a great opportunity to look at the county through fresh eyes. And so we had established an amazing transition team to come in to start working with our departments to create policies, procedures, look to see what we could do better, what was going well, what we could change and improve. Well, I think they met one time. That certainly went by the wayside. And that's unfortunate because I think it would have been a great opportunity for us. I had a personal mission of meeting all 2,400 plus employees, and that lasted about 2 months. I didn't get very far, and then COVID came. The other thing that I wanted to do was really delve into the departments and see how their process worked, how easy it was for the citizen walking in that needed services, and understand a little more in depth about how the departments function. And lastly, it was important to me to look at the budget differently and look at a zero-based or a hybrid-based way of doing budgeting. Of course, that got lost in the year as well, and we're looking to do that next year.
Thanks, Marian. Josh, next question for you. Looking forward now, because I think we are all very much looking forward to the change of the calendar and moving on with 2021. Looking at 2021, what's going to be the areas that you're going to focus on? What's going to be in your portfolio for the year 2021?
Well, at least for the first 2 quarters, we'll be talking still about COVID-19, making sure we get all the populations that need it vaccinated. That's going to be a number one priority of our health department, of our board, and I think all of us in the nonprofit and business sectors as well. Moving past that, love to start tackling some of the things you promised on the campaign trail when you get elected to office that you can put into implementation. I feel obligated as one of the younger people elected in Chester County, I think the only millennial living in Chester County elected to office, to focus on some things that are going to bring long-term economic growth to our county, including transportation, access to some of our areas where we haven't had it before. I know all 3 of us have been working on that for a very long time. I look to contributing to that in my own way. For me, municipal budgeting is very important. I think the most important vote we take, you know this as a former commissioner, is that budget. It sets the framework for the entire year and into the future, sometimes 20 years down the line when you're talking about bonds and debt, and that's a long-time commitment. So we're going to be looking at each one of those investments, making sure it's bringing long-term economic growth to Chester County. And in Chester County, that means continuing our land preservation efforts. Another thing we're going to be looking at as a board is our county-owned facilities. In light of COVID and evolving business and government practices, what space does Chester County really need? What square footage can we best utilize? How can we be strategic with our government buildings, making sure they're accessible to the public who need them? What resources can we put online and people are going to use those instead? So we'll be trying to evolve, look at those spaces, and hopefully save a couple of bucks in the process.
Thank you, Josh. Michelle, have the next couple of questions are coming your way. The first one is one building off of Josh's comments a moment ago, the importance of being good fiscal stewards of the county being one of the chief responsibilities of the Board of County Commissioners. What, looking at the crystal ball, I realize it's still being assessed, but what's the impact of COVID on the county budget?
That's a great question. One of the things, Jim, we were fortunate to be positioned well as a county going into this crisis. We are still the only county in the Commonwealth that had 3 AAA bond ratings, and the rating agencies, if you look back at the language that they use to describe the county, it's, and I will do a little shout out, a thank you to our finance department and our county administrator as well, but we certainly have been rated very highly because of our responsible fiscal planning. And but that being said, we do have challenges. We have challenges coming up ahead, and we just had our public budget meeting for the 2021 budget, and there's a few key points that I want to note that are a little different about this budget. The first is 10 years ago, the former Board of Commissioners had entered into a 10-year lease purchase option for our county administration building in Westchester. That's 313 Market. We call that our financial building. That's where the treasurer is located, the controller, finance department, county commissioners, solicitor's office. And anyway, that after a 10-year lease, we discussed the option to buy and have made the decision that we are going to be purchasing that property because it makes fiscal sense. It is going to save the taxpayers $16 million over the next 10-year period. Which is a positive thing. We are looking out for, for the, as Josh said, for the future. The other thing is our budget has addressed a funding need that is critical for our libraries. It's a $5 million funding stream that will go to the libraries. It's been very interesting to observe statistically with COVID that the libraries, especially the virtual books, things of that nature that are offered through our libraries have increased. It's really been a source of, I think, of a positive for our elderly, for our kids, to have that resource, and we're very pleased to be able to offer that funding in the budget. And then also we are, you will see a line in the budget that talks about the beginning of the process to construct a county morgue. I believe, just because of COVID, I am the only commissioner that's actually seen the morgue. It is currently located in the basement of Chester County Hospital. It is, I think it was out of date in 1950. It's not really appropriate. There's a lot of things that don't meet the standard. We are going to look, again, to use Commissioner Maxwell's words, we're going to look strategically at this. We're going to start to look at different options. This is not something, while we need it, this is not something because, having gone through, I think many of us know, we have a wonderful training campus in Coatesville. But when that process was started years and years ago, a number was thrown out. It became a lot more expensive in the process. I'm thrilled to have Marian on the board because she's a developer. So we are going to look strategically and prudently at this process to make sure that it is exactly what the community needs, and that we can perhaps take advantage of some options that may have opened because of the real estate market with COVID. Also, some of the things that unfortunately have impacted our budget because of COVID-19. We have a significant reduction in hotel tax revenue, and that supports the operation of our county parks and trails. So this is something that, again, parks and trails have been used more than ever because of COVID. So I know they're popular, and we really need to, take a look at how we continue to support that, because that is, I consider that the opportunity for a mental health break for people to get out and use our parks and our trails. They're critical. And of course, the big, boulder on all of our backs is the uncertainty of both federal and state funding. And that makes a large portion of our revenue. It isn't the taxes. The largest portion of our revenue is state and federal funding. And I know, again, also to paraphrase my colleagues, looking out for the future, the massive deficit in the federal and state government is only going to get larger. And frankly, because of COVID, probably because of more additional needed COVID stimulus funding. So how is that going to affect our county budget in the next few years? This is something we're going to have to monitor very, very closely because, Jim, you mentioned COVID recession, but there can also be deficit recessions. So this is something I know the three of us are very concerned about. But the positive thing is, as Marian mentioned, Chester County has a strong economy, we have strong reserves, and we have low pension and debt liabilities. Mm-hmm. And we recently received yet another AAA positive review from Moody's. So locally, at the Chester County level, we're in a very strong position, and we are aware of what's going on around us, and we certainly will continue to plan for that.
Thanks, Michelle. Another question that came from the membership of the chamber. Folks are very interested in hearing about Restore Chesco and its various committees, et cetera. Could you fill us in on what's going on there?
Sure. I know many of the communities in the chambers have been very supportive and have really been part of this. So I want to thank you for your support, and I want to thank the Chamber. I know Guy has been very involved in this as well. This was created by the COVID-19 Business Task Force, as already mentioned, it is the county's web-based toolkit. It provides guidances to business and residents on how to safely interact with COVID. We have provided, through this toolkit, specific guidance for 21 industry sectors. The original purpose was the preparation for reopening and staying open, and that was launched in May. In anticipation of moving to the next level of guidance, we will soon be revising the website. We're going to provide more up-to-date information, again, for those 21 specific industry sectors. The updated recommendations are based on research from national, state, and local best practices. We have interviewed local business stakeholders. We actually sent out a survey which got over 500 responses, and we held 11 industry focus group meetings. So this work was done by 4 Award Planning. It's an economic and real estate analysis planning firm. In addition, local leaders on economic development, workforce development, planning, and government administration have provided input, as well as TIP Strategies, a national economic development firm that prepared the county's Vista 2025 plan. The recommendations remain short-term in nature, probably for the next 6 months or so. Yes, we're starting to think of 6 months as short-term, I know. It seems like forever, and it will be updated frequently to reflect constantly changing conditions. Another step in the COVID-19 Business Task Force plan for short and medium-term recovery is leading to longer-term economic growth in a post-COVID world. And I promise you, there will be one. I know it's hard to imagine, but there will be a post-COVID world.
Thank you. Josh, next question for you. Again, one of those important duties of county commissioners and county government is interacting with municipal partners, with the local governments. And so the question is, how exactly is the county helping local governments, and how is the county interacting with them specifically during COVID?
Thank you for that question. In a Commonwealth like Pennsylvania, we know that a lot of our important emergency services operations are implemented on the local level, and that is police, that is fire, that is ambulance. So our board granted each fire department and ambulance company in Chester County $25,000 and provided sanitation equipment at no cost to every police station, as well as PPE to all first responders in Chester County at no cost to local municipalities. But we're doing a lot on top of that, in addition to a lot of the things the county would already be doing to support municipalities throughout Chester County. I'll first mention the Chester County Health Department. All COVID-19 info up to date is available on chesco.org. Coronavirus remains a go-to information portal that local governments can reference and use as a resource. Also, ongoing support through environmental health services and restaurant inspections. Our Department of Community Development is implementing our community revitalization through a $2.5 million, we call it a CRP funding, which is awarded to boroughs and the city of Coatesville this year. Our Urban Centers Forums continue in conjunction with our Planning Commission, carrying out plans for affordable housing projects throughout all of Chester County. The Planning Commission is implementing the Vision Partnership programs, is conducting a major study on improving active transportation, walking, biking, and taking public transportation at the municipal level. And we're continuing county's major trail projects, which will be completed by the end of 2020, an analysis and interactive map on all municipal open space options. Our Water Resources is providing a stormwater management plans for all municipalities, including online water information with maps and flood protection guidance. Our Human Services Department is supporting our senior centers, especially important during COVID, who are seeing an increased provision for meals, of meals for seniors, and telehealth to support all mental health, to support the entire mental health community. In addition to that, our Emergency Services Department is continuing to train and support our first responders and provide PPE as needed, and COVID-19 impact funding that I mentioned earlier. So we are actively engaging, as you have to do in a Commonwealth like Pennsylvania, with our local municipalities, because that's where the folks are seeing it on the streets and what needs to be done, and we're there to back them up.
Thank you. Our next question is one that's going to be posed to all three of you. It again, of course, relates to COVID, but specifically, this is an economic question. As a result of the lockdowns, we've seen obviously a slowdown in the economy. And the question reads, do you think we need to reassess? Now, I don't know about you, but as a former county commissioner, anytime anybody uses the word reassess, I have a shiver down my spine. But this is about reassessing how you approach development. Specifically, is there going to be a strategy around perhaps being more aggressive in recruitment and retention, things of that nature? So, Marian, we'll start with you on that question.
Sure. It's a great question because we need to keep looking toward the future. It's not that far away. And, Chester County remains a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And we're a healthy environment. But, we're going to have to look at things a little differently. And part of the Restore Chester County is going to look at the future once we get past this initial point and how we can improve Chester County. Things are going to look differently. We know, for example, that office space is going to look differently. Housing is going to look differently because people want offices in their homes. Technology has changed the way we function. We just couldn't function without it. So there are just so many things that we're going to look at from an economic development strategy. We're going to look at a whole strategy on the impact of the county, how we can improve it, and how we can make Chester County even better than it was before, given where we are today.
Thanks, Marian. Josh, the jobs and economy.
As mentioned earlier, Chester County's economy, by no question, has been hurt by COVID-19. And this is true across the region, the Commonwealth, and the nation. After the initial surge in unemployment, we have shown a lot of resiliency here in our area, with unemployment rates reducing and some industries even thriving, while others are continuing to suffer greatly. Many of our economic strengths pre-COVID are what have helped us to cope with the impact of the virus, notably the element of preservation that goes hand in hand with the progress. Also our partnerships, industry partnerships and community partnerships. Even with the best plans and strategies, we must incorporate an element of adaptation. And as Marian mentioned, we are already planning a review. COVID-19, being in this pandemic, is just focusing our attention even more on this review and making sure we're prepared for the future.
Very good. Michelle, same question.
Sure. Thanks, Jim. One of the things, I do want to note, which has been positive, and I know my colleagues alluded to it, since the COVID has struck, yes, it's had a significant impact on certain industry sectors. But I will note that the real estate market in Chester County is incredibly strong right now. And I think our planning has to take advantage of the fact that we are now really positioned to attract people to this area. It's, it is a changing environment. As Marian said, people do want to work from home now. And as Josh mentioned, with this wonderful open space, and we're in the chamber here, and we literally, all three of us just went last week and cut a ribbon on a trail extension here in East Goshen. These are the types of things that are going to attract businesses and individuals to our area. And our strength in planning. Chester County has enormous strength in planning. We have been nationally recognized for that. It has given us a strong foundation for economic growth. But there is an adage that people often say, set your goals in concrete, but your plans in sand. It certainly applies here. So our overall growth and goals for economic growth and strength continue. But as COVID has shown us, the road to get there can certainly twist and turn. So yes, we need to reassess the way we approach economic development because in the short term, the way we do things and the way businesses do things has changed. So what we're going to look like and look for in the future is down to the plans of the COVID-19 Business Task Force. And that group has represented to us and to many of the businesses in the community ways that they want to review the process and give us advice on how to adapt for the future.
Thanks, Michelle. Marian, next question for you. And it is, again, another forward-thinking one, which it's pleasant, particularly when we all reflect back on 2020, to be able to think forward. I'm sure you and your colleagues and the great folks who work in county government have some plans as far as projects, developments or initiatives that you'd like to see come to fruition in 2021. Can you share some of them?
Sure. I would just say that, it's nice to think about something else beside COVID, beside weather issues and elections, because we have had our hands full with all three. So it's very positive for us to be thinking ahead at the great things that we can accomplish. So Michelle mentioned some of the key projects, as well as the purchase of 313 West Market, which again saves us the $16 million over 10 years. It's a great savings for our budget. But we're continuing to invest in our libraries and our parks. We have 6 affordable housing projects going next year. And as Pat Bakovich, who's been the director of community planning for over 26 years, will tell you, it's the first time in his history that we've had so many. So that's exciting, because that is something that we wanted to make sure that we did for the community. And finally, we're going to work and review our strategic plan, as well as the budgeting process, which I told you. We want to focus on transparency and accountability, and to do that, it is important that we relook at our strategy going forward. So those are some of the things that I have on the list.
Sounds very exciting. And now, Commissioners, we've come to the last question, and it is one that I, for one, am very happy to see, because so often folks look to government without necessarily volunteering to step up and be part of the solution. So the question that comes from the membership is, how can the business community help with the recovery? Michelle, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, I'll just address the, my ask, and I think the ask of the board, which is the current one, which is have the business community, we want you to support the public health actions that are needed now to beat COVID-19. These things, as I mentioned earlier, these are tools that help businesses stay open, and just do them. It's a simple, wear your mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart, and even though that's not a health thing, I always put the plug, shop locally. And do takeout. I try to do takeout. I did takeout yesterday for lunch. It was very exciting.
Josh, how can the business community help?
One, let's keep doing what we're doing, which is working collaboratively, making sure that our board, our government is aware of what the business community needs are, as well as what they're doing to practice good guidance during COVID-19, so we can continue to advocate for our business community, whether that's with funding or regarding guidelines from the CDC, Pennsylvania Department of Health, or even internally with the Chester County Health Department. And please get involved in our Phase 2 long-term economic recovery happening in 2021. We have so many smart people in our business sector in Chester County, and we want to work with them, learn from them, and engage with them to make sure that Chester County comes out of COVID-19 pandemic better than we were when we got started.
Thank you, Josh. Marian, the business community.
Yes, I would stress that you get involved with your chambers. There are many chambers throughout the county, and they're all so active and so helpful, and the Economic Development Council. But also, we have boards and commissions in the county that it's a great opportunity, if you're not involved, to send your resume to try to get involved in some of those. Look, and the big thing is support each other, right? So the restaurants have really gotten together and are trying to help each other in this critical time. And it is so important that every sector do that. We're all in this together. We're all struggling at the same time. So we need to help one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian. And Commissioners, thank you for your time this morning. I'm sure we all found it very informative. And now to close our program, we take you live to Guy Shiraki via satellite across this very boardroom. Take it away, Guy.
Thank you, Jim. I want to thank the commissioners for their participation in this event, sharing information with us, and their willingness to address the questions on our mind. More importantly, I want to thank them for their steady leadership over the last several months and their willingness to engage with the chambers throughout the county and so many different business, civic, and health organizations to provide the information and the collegiality and the teamwork necessary to help us get through this, and more importantly, get to the other side. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Cawley for being with us, sharing his insights and volunteering his time to be with us. We're grateful again to our sponsors who helped make today possible and help support the Chamber's activities. I want to particularly thank the presenting sponsors for today's event, McErlane, Fulton Bank, Aqua, and the law firm of Riley, Riper, Holland, and Colagreco. I want to particularly thank our board. Many of you volunteer your time for different organizations. Those folks across our community who volunteer their time for the various chambers and nonprofits, you signed on for double duty in 2020. We're especially grateful for our board, not only donating their financial resources, but being available to partner with us and help our events, often like all of us, while volunteering your time from your basements or your bedrooms or wherever you can find quiet space to participate. We're very grateful for your service. Our chamber will continue to work with our commissioners, state and local, federal officials to try and help our businesses stay afloat, thrive, and survive. We will continue to fight on for a safe and full reopening so that no business is left behind. We have a number of events in the near future. Hopefully we can see you at them, whether it's in person or joining us online. Next week, we would typically have our chamber open house, but on December 9th, we're going to have something a little different. It'll be a digital open house. So join us online, pop in, have a drink, whether that's coffee, tea, or something else. Check in with your friends, see who else is joining, and find a way to stay engaged. We'll have a number of public policy events in the new year. We have some good positive history in Harrisburg to celebrate, and our chamber is going to be helping to connect us. We have 2 new leaders in Harrisburg. The House Democrats have elected a brand new minority leader, and that's Representative Joanne McClinton from Philadelphia. We'll be having a broadcast with her in early 2021. The Senate Republicans have elected a new majority leader, and that's Senator Kim Ward of Westmoreland County out in western Pennsylvania, and we'll be presenting a program with her as well. So please join us, whether it's to pop in at our digital open house or for some of our advocacy events. Most of all, stay engaged, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you all in the near future, whether it's online or in person. We wish you all a happy and safe holiday season and look forward to seeing you in the remainder of 2020 and to a safe and prosperous 2021. Thank you all.